Hey everyone, same bearded Viking guy from sunny southern Sweden, and it is actually a little sunny today. Sorry if you can't see me. About a week ago, I posted up a celebratory statement on one of my groups, and I said celebrating the number of heathens we have. Some people found issue with that. I'm not a heathen, and this isn't a heathen, and this is what heathen means, and that's what heathen means. They're actually even arguing with the Oxford Dictionary, English Dictionary, and that's all semantics, but basically the point of this video is to talk about labels and whether or not we label ourselves by a certain term or they're given to us by another, they're of a transient nature. Even as how we label ourselves evolves and changes over time. You can argue with that, but I mean, as people, we rarely stay static and rarely stay the same. Our concepts of identity change. And we as people have a habit of being self-important and having very little ability to see beyond ourselves. And I think that's why we're so hard when we talk about the labels that we identify ourselves at. But look at the way other people label us. It could be the style of our clothes, our hair, our dress, the way we wear our clothes. They help people categorize us. As humans, we're always trying to categorize and give order to things around us. So, of course, your style of hair changes. I mean, like men, many of us go bald. So we can't have the same style of hair forever. You can't grow a beard as a child for a man, or, aside from that, and I don't mean to be patriarchal, but, we very few of us stay with the same brand of clothes, let alone the same style in that brand. We're constantly evolving, constantly changing. And even though that might not change how we self-identify, that does change how others around us identify us. But of course, the way we self-identify changes. The way I self-identify has changed over time. And the words we use carry very real social stigmas, but we might use them more or less to offend in certain situations or to play dominant roles in certain sorts situations or play a subordinate role. If I meet somebody that's very aggressive or anti-polytheist, I might use the term pagan or heathen, even though I used to really hate using those terms because I looked at them as basically kind of like ethnic slurs. But it doesn't really matter what we label ourselves, especially in the realm of polytheism, asatru. You can look at the explicit label itself, but that doesn't change who you are. And therefore I'm going to kind of give, I tell people, no, you got to use the word pagan, or I'm not a pagan, I'm a heathen, and I'm a this, and I'm a that. Well, let me use some synonyms here. Pagan, heathen, infidel, barbarian. So, of course, we all know what infidel means because it's entered our lingua franca by way of jihad, which is a synonym for crusade. And you're talking about other people that don't follow your religion, which is the way that pagan and heathen was used. Heathen comes from inhabiting open country. And if you look at other words that have to do with the word heathen, heath, heather, hearth, you can see that all of them came from the same etymological root word. And therefore, someone who was a heathen historically was just inhabiting the open country or worshiping on a hearth. Some people have all kinds of crazy meanings behind it. It's a way of life and it's this and there's no doctrine and no dogma. Well, if there's no doctrine and no dogma, how can you be such a pundit when explaining exactly what it means? So let's look at the word pagan. Pagan is literally from pagus in Latin, which means just a villager or someone from the countryside. And another word that might have a root for what is now pagan is worshippers of Picta. And during the late Roman age, when Christianity started to take hold, the word pagan was literally used and competed with the word polytheism for those who worship more than one God. So if you're Wicca or you're Asatru or you're Hellenistic or Egyptian, you're still a polytheist. right? Because you believe in multiple deities. By way of what that word means, multiple theism. So, if they competed with, in historical times, the word pagan, then you're still a pagan. You're still a heathen. By being a heathen or a pagan, it's just not one of the mainstream salvation-based religions. And that's fine if you don't want to identify with that. It's cool, but don't crucify somebody because they celebratory say pagan or heathen. You know, and a witch, the word witch, for some of the Wiccans out there, you know, witch comes from the word Wiccan, which literally means a male sorcerer. And later that was used pejoratively towards women. So don't get hung up on labels. The way we label and define ourselves changes over time. I'm sure I won't be telling you that I'm the bearded Viking guy 50 years from now when I'm walking with a cane. As things change, our concept of self is of a transient nature, and how we choose to identify ourselves and label ourselves evolves, as we are just a constant evolution by way of a reaction or an action to a certain stimulus. And the way we react to that stimulus is set up and kind of pre-programmed in us through positive and negative reinforcements from similar stimulus in our lives before. So, of course, we change day to day. I might try a new food today that I didn't know that I hated. And then I might be invited to go where that food's is the national cuisine. And I say, oh man, I don't want to go there. I don't want to get stuck eating that. So try not to be so hardline with people and realize that the labels we choose for ourselves and others are as much of a transient, have as much as a transient nature as the wind around us. And just as the weather changes, the only thing that will be sure is the sun will rise in another day. So when thinking of your label, think of your audience, think of yourself, and remember, climb highly, friends. Reach your lofty goals. Do not let something as silly as the definition or semantics that surround the definition of a word through its historical use or its common colloquial use hinder you from getting where you want to be. Thank you, and enjoy your own Nordic journey.